This is one from Russia, the Irtych C616 chip, and this one is from Longsun, the Longsun 3 CC6000 chip. You might not guess, but they are like blood brothers. Hey everyone, Dongdong here. Filming under this banner, I got to thank the Shanghai Stock Exchange and Bilibili for their UP support. So in this video, join me as we delve into the mysterious Longsun technology and its long underrated decision, Long Arch. So let us talk about this chip from Russia. In 2022, following the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Western tech sanctions halted all high-performance Intel and AMD processors. Overnight, a military and aerospace superpower found it could not even build a decent server. Back then, some US officials even claimed that Russia had to yank chips from dishwashers and fridges for use in military gear. Of course, given the info war, the truth of such claims is debatable. But Russia's plight regarding high-end chips is real. Over there, they did try to make chips themselves. They took two paths. Path 1 was BICO, an ARM licensing route, meaning the Cortex still came from Britain's ARM Limited. Once Russia got that license, they started designing chips. That path kicked off fast, had a solid ecosystem, and initial progress was great. But with sanctions, ARM pulled its license, TSMC stopped production. Both architecture and manufacturing severed. The project instantly died. Route 2 was Elbrus, which took the fully self-developed instruction set path, which sounds quite safe, right? No one could sanction you then. But Elbrus's compiler, well, it is just too weak. Put simply, this chip speaks too few languages. Most software out there cannot run on it. Its minimal ecosystem cannot support a nation-level IT project. So is there a third way? Yes, there is. And that path leads to nearby Beijing, where Longsun has been on this road for over 20 years. To grasp why Russia picked Longsun, we must first look at what Longsun has gone through over these past 20+ years. So back in 2001, the CAS Institute of Computing was gearing up for a huge task, creating China's very own general-purpose CPU. This effort, halted in 1984, had been dormant for nearly 20 years. Back then, California's Institute chief academician Li Guoji, founder of supercomputer firm Sugong, had since 1999 been championing one key idea. Namely, we must focus heavily on general-purpose processors or the chance will be lost in 5 years. Back then, 32-year-old Hou Weiwu, then a researcher at Computing Institute for just 1 year, returned to his alma mater, USTC, in 2000. He saw the lab where he had done his undergrad thesis 10 years prior still there. For that graduation project, he built an 8086 instruction set compatible processor, lacking PCB funding. All wiring was done by hand. Later, he returned to Beijing and made a make-or-break pledge to his senior, Jimmy Tang. Within 1 or 2 years, if we cannot boot up a general OS, bring me your head. And so, with 1 million in funding, a dozen folks, and the 50 to 60 square meter lab, a sign on the wall read, how many times in life can one strive? The Longsun Research Group was founded. Hou Weiwu dubbed this unborn CPU Gaza.
How did you know that name?
The gist, a humble name makes for a sturdy life. In January 2002, a 66-year-old elder joined this youthful team. Her name, Huang Lingyi, China's first-gen chip design expert. Once there, she spent all day long dragging her mouse, staring at her screen, helping the team check circuits. Back then, Hou Weiwu even urged her, just oversee the young folks, do not do it yourself. She blurted out, my greatest wish in this life is to prostrate myself and wipe away our nation's shame. The time, early on the 10th of August 2002, place room 105, North Building, California's Institute of Computer Technology. On a stuffy summer day, conditions were quite poor. Mine swarms of mosquitoes abounded as a few pale-faced young folk stared at their screens. Since just days before the tape-out deadline, the test team found that a scan chain of over 10,000 flip-flops failed to work properly. If it could not be fixed, they would have to scrap the tape-out, meaning over a year's hard work would all be for naught. Then, the Longsun team manually revised the layout going 2 days and 2 nights without sleep to meet that deadline. Then at 6:08 that very dawn, the words login popped onto the screen, and the whole lab erupted in cheers. The computer fitted with the Longsun 1 CPU booted up successfully. That's the era where China relied solely on imported CPUs to make computers had at last come to an end. Hou Weiwu, clutching his keyboard, logged in and used the VI editor to type out the very first file post Longsun 1's birth, which translates to the 10th of August 2002, 6:08 AM. This historic moment ended one era and kicked off a new one. The days when Chinese folks could only build PCs with foreign CPUs vanished with that morning's breeze. But things did not go as smoothly as we would have thought. After that highlight came a long spell of darkness. From 2001 to 2010, Longsun poured over 400 million into R&D, yet its overall results were hardly noteworthy. Society too started to question, with all that cash poured in, why cannot they rival Intel? Amidst this immense pressure, Hou Weiwu made his second key decision to go into business. In 2010, most of the key tech experts from the Longsun Research Group quit the ICT to launch market-driven operations. Some gave up PhDs, some gave up public institution staffing, some turned down outside offers for million-dollar salaries. Hou Weiwu himself gave up awards, promotions, and even academician applications, as starting a business requires startup funds. ICT and the team each contributed 5 million, raising 10 million to found the company. 5 million, that sum was an astronomical figure for a group of researchers who had just quit. Boss, you had to scrounge for it everywhere. Back then, he left these words.
China has no shortage of academicians. It needs an Intel.
Right when Longsun Technology faced its toughest times, several foreign firms reached out, proposing tech licensing or joint ventures. So, to put it bluntly, you Chinese folks, stop straining yourselves. Just use our tech and you can build it right away. The terms were enticing, accepting them could instantly close a 10-year gap. But Hou Weiwu refused and later uttered the famous phrase.
Their message, surrender and live.
Take their tech and you lose your R&D prowess. If you hold your own R&D, you can only follow them whatever they give you. You take, leaving you highly constrained. Early on, Longsun used the MIPS instruction set. That licensing deal drew flag. Since your instruction set belongs to others, how can you call those homegrown chips? So, come 2019, Hou Weiwu made what amounted to a limb-severing decision to start developing a fully autonomous instruction set, Long Arch. He said, that is akin to tearing up the very foundation. For over half a year, he could neither eat nor drink. Then, he finally saw the light, cheering himself up with one phrase, punch first, to avoid 100 punches. Long Arch, officially launched in 2021. To quell claims of plagiarism, Longsun tasked hundreds of staff to compare Long Arch line by line against tens of thousands of patents from 6 major global instruction set architectures. Ultimately, a third-party body ruled, 自主设计，无侵权风险. From this moment on, beyond x86 and ARM, the world now boasts a third, well-structured CPU instruction set, backed by a full hardware and software ecosystem. For Longsun, Long Arch has forged a Linux-based software ecosystem on par with x86 and ARM. So, we can sum it up, thus Longsun's past 20+ years have seen it try the toughest, most perilous path for any domestic CPU, yet safest path. Hard, because a proprietary instruction set lacks an ecosystem. Every software must be built from scratch. Risky, since it is a 9-to-1 shot at death, safe since the instruction set rests wholly in their own hands, beyond the purview of any foreign regulatory regime. And it was this safety that led Russia to knock on their door. In 2024, Russia's Trampoline Electronics and Longsun struck a deal. They obtained full licenses for the Longsun LA664 IP core and Longarch instruction set. Hey, now pay close attention. This is not about slapping a label on the chips. Trampoline Electronics got licensed for the core and the instruction set, plus rights to develop and modify themselves. They added their own security modules atop it, tailoring a server CPU to Russia's needs, dubbed the Irtish C616. This CPU boasts 16 cores, 32 threads, and a clock speed of 2.2 GHz. Remember that chip I mentioned at the start, its big brother, the Longsun 3 C6000. Well, its 16-core version benchmarks at the level of an Intel Xeon Silver 4314. The homegrown Irtish C616 chip, assembled wholly within Russia, aims to ship 30,000 units in its first year of mass production. This year, several Russian firms are slated to roll out complete systems. This marks the first time since PRC's founding that CPU IP core tech has been licensed to a foreign firm. Hey, hold on. For those of you who follow tech news, this tale might sound awfully familiar. Back then, HYGON bought AMD's Xeon IP core and made China's x86 server chip. Now, Trampoline Electronics has bought Longsun's LA664 IP core and made Russia's own Longarch server chips. These two business deals look identical, just with the roles reversed. To the Russians, Longsun is basically their AMD. Before, we were the ones buying licenses. Now, we are the ones selling them. It is because Huawei decided to build their own instruction set from scratch. And since Longsun's instruction set is its own free from any foreign regulatory regimes, it was able to ink this deal. Hard, yet right. Those words paid off right then. We found that in Longsun's 2025 annual report, it has clearly listed foreign tech licensing as a new, sustainable revenue growth stream. For their clients are not just in Russia. Europe's digital sovereignty movement is growing, with nations exploring independence from US tech dependence. Many folks think that once a firm goes public, it is like trading a popgun for a cannon, no more money woes. But Longsun might be an exception. In June 2022, Longsun Technology listed on the SSE STAR market, becoming the first domestic CPU stock. Going public did bring it many tangible perks. Of course, for instance, R&D funds, a prominent public profile, plus its first ever equity incentive post-IPO to retain more engineers. But flip open its books and you will spot something odd. For 2025, full year revenue hit 635 million, a 26% year-on-year jump. Sounds like growth, right? But the net profit attributable to parents was negative 4.55 billion. Checking their financial reports, we find R&D spending hit 507 million, a whopping 80% of revenue. A public firm spends $8 on R&D for every 10 it earns and still loses money. But good news is all metrics are improving for 2025. Gross margin rebounded to 47%, up 16 percentage points year-on-year. Losses are shrinking to $170 million, less than the year before. While its debut IPO fundraising did ease Longsun Technology's short-term cash flow strains from the lens of long-term corporate growth, building a robust, self-reliant industrial ecosystem holds equal strategic weight as securing capital infusions. What Longsun truly needs is not money, but an ecosystem. x86 and ARM have decades of software libraries from millions of developers. But Longsun, it must build up from the first line of code, bit by bit. So this is something the capital market cannot fix. It just takes time to amass and endure. Going public was, for Longsun, akin to a coming of age right. It forced this national project-style firm to start learning to do business by market rules, shifting from domestic first to vying on price and performance, and from being picked by the market to proactively seizing it. Of course, there's good news too, that market pressure has spurred Longsun's ecosystem to grow, visibly so. Longsun's 2K series and OpenAtom, OpenHarmony have fully integrated things like lottery machines and printer controllers devices you might bump into daily but not even realize are running on Longsun. The Longsun 3 series chips now round out 3 product lines: desktop, server, and terminal. Plus, for us consumers, we can see things more clearly via something called LATX. Binary translation lets Longsun's 3 A6000 run times 86 Windows games directly. At Longsun, I gave Black Myth Wukong a go myself at 4K resolution. It ran at around 30 FPS. A bit choppy, but just about playable. But back at the start, you could not even open an .exe file on Longsun now. It can run a great Sage. It's not that great. And it is not just games at Longsun. I saw a whole room filled with ecosystem adapted products, from WPS Office to Dubal, from Unitech OS to Kali OS, from WeTech Work to specialist software for various sectors. You might not recognize each one, but all you need to know is this room was half empty 2 years ago. Now, it is nearly bursting at the seams. Plus, Longsun's ecosystem spans far beyond just these software apps. Now, when you head to the bank, the core transaction system behind it might well run on Longsun, or when you take the high-speed train and sweat through the gate. Traffic control systems might have Longsun in them, plus things like your home water meter, the gas pumps at filling stations, and carrier space stations, things you use daily. But the infrastructure you will not notice. Longsun is already established, having permeated key sectors such as electronics, government, energy, transport, finance, telecoms, and education. Plus, I learned of a quite surprising figure: the 10 major tech breakthroughs mentioned in the 20th National Congress report, 7 of which are already using or have picked Longsun CPUs. Plus, even those too advanced to be shown off use Longsun too. But for us regular consumers, is this thing any good? Honestly, it is still some ways from being smooth, but if the path is right, distance holds no fear. Now, Longsun has rounded out 3 product lines: the desktop CPU 3 A6000, the server CPU 3 C6000, and the embedded CPU 3 B6000M. The 3 B6600, their next-gen desktop chip, has been designed and sent for fabrication. Their first discrete GPU, the 9A1000, is also underway. So far, this whole video seems to have been me just praising Longsun. But let us be fair, Longsun is far from being after all these years, it is still losing money. Its ecosystem lags far behind x86 and ARM, and if you try to game or run software on it, chances are it will still lag and throw errors. But looking back in those years, we fretted over whether China could even make a CPU. Now we debate how well it works. And between those two questions lies a whole generation's hard work and struggle. So, do you all recall that Russian Irtish C616 chip with Russian script on it from the video start? This matter, well, it is not huge but not small either. When an instruction set is your own, you're not just secure, you can have others proactively choose you. The reason x86 and ARM rule the world has never been about locking down their architectures, but about making the whole world reliant on them. And the Longsun and Longarch are now betting big on whether they can win. Right now, we do not know the answer, but it is earned its seat at the table to place its bets. So for Longsun Technology, the biggest question mark is not tech, it is the market. A child sustained by a national mission for over 20 years must now go out and earn its own keep. Can it win people over on its own merit? Sense that must use domestic product safety net. The answer to that question lies not within Longsun, but in the choices each of us everyday users makes. So maybe in 5 years, or perhaps 10, when you smoothly run all the software you wish on a fully homegrown PC, not out of sentiment, but because it is genuinely good to use. And that is when Longsun truly comes of age. Okay, that wraps up this video. Hope it helps you grasp the Longsun technology better. Lastly, thanks again to the Shanghai Stock Exchange and Bilibili for their great support of this video. See you next time. Bye.